Why successful people wake up at 4 a.m. and how it can change your life forever. Part 1. Introduction. There is something magical about waking up at 4 a.m. The world is still quiet, the air feels different, and everything seems to slow down just enough for you to breathe, think, and reset. This hour is not about punishing yourself or competing with anyone else. It's about claiming a part of the day that most people never touch. A part of the day where your mind is clean, your focus is sharp, and your intentions haven't yet been clouded by noise. Many of the world's most successful people, CEOs, athletes, creators, artists, entrepreneurs, have sworn by the 4 a.m. wake-up habit for decades. But the truth is that not waking up early magically turns you into a millionaire or a high performer. The truth is that waking up at 4 a.m. creates the perfect environment for the habits, thoughts, and decisions that eventually shape your success. The purpose of this article is not to pressure you into becoming an early riser, but to show you why the early morning hours hold such immense power and how the simple act of reclaiming them can reshape your life in ways you may have never imagined. In this first part, you will explore two core transformational messages. Message 1, the power of stillness. Why 4 a.m. clears your mind like no other time. Message 2, reclaiming control, building discipline before the world wakes up. By the end of part 1, you will understand why the early morning is a mental sanctuary, why discipline thrives in silence, and why high achievers guard their mornings with absolute seriousness. Let's begin. Message 1, the power of stillness. Why 4 a.m. clears your mind like no other time. There is a kind of silence at 4 a.m. that is impossible to find during the rest of the day. Not just the absence of noise, but the absence of expectation. Nobody is messaging you. Nobody's asking for something. Nobody needs your attention. The world is asleep. And for a brief moment, you exist outside of its demands. This stillness is precious, and successful people guard it because they understand something profound. Your mind is never more open, more calm, and more capable than in the first hour of the day. A quiet mind thinks deeper. During the day, your mind is constantly processing notifications, conversations, tasks, problems, social media, responsibilities. Even if you don't realize it, your brain is operating at high speed. But at 4 a.m., none of this exists yet. You wake up before the world has the chance to pull you in 100 different directions. This quiet allows your thoughts to move more slowly, more intentionally. Space opens up in your mind. Space for ideas, reflections, decisions, dreams. Creatives call this the golden hour of thought. Entrepreneurs call it their power window. Psychologists call it a period of heightened mental clarity. Whatever the name, the result is the same. A mind finally free to think deeply. Early morning equals mental renewal. Think of your brain like a lake. During the day, the surface gets disturbed. Winds, waves, storms, movement. But in the early morning, before anything touches it, the surface is completely still. This stillness reflects everything clearly. This is why some of your biggest realizations happen early in the day. You understand what you truly want. You remember what you've been avoiding. You gain clarity on problems that feel messy at any other time. You see your priorities more honestly. This is why journaling, planning, or simply sitting in silence during the early morning can feel transformative. You're not just waking up earlier, you're waking up cleaner. You connect with yourself before connecting with the world. Most people start their day reacting. They react to messages. They react to work. They react to responsibilities. They react to problems. But when you wake up at 4 a.m., you start your day with intention instead of reaction. You check in with yourself before the world checks in with you. This reset is powerful because it gives you the chance to ask fundamental questions. What do I want today to look like? What matters most for my future? How do I want to feel? What should I stop doing? Successful people aren't successful because they are smarter or luckier. They simply create enough silence to listen to the answers that other people never pause long enough to hear. Stillness strengthens focus. When your mind wakes up in silence, it enters a state of high concentration. Scientists call this the morning peak, where cognitive performance naturally rises. At 4 a.m., there are no distractions to compete with your attention. You can enter deep focus faster, stay in it longer, and produce better results. This is why writers produce their best work in the morning, why entrepreneurs make their most strategic decisions early, why athletes train before sunrise, why creators feel the most inspired when others are asleep. You're not fighting against the world, you're working in harmony with your own mind. The emotional impact of a quiet start. There's also a powerful emotional benefit. Starting your day calmly makes you more resilient. You don't go into the day feeling rushed or overwhelmed. You begin centered, grounded, and stable. When the world finally wakes up, you face it with a stronger mind because you've already given yourself the space to breathe, think, and align with your purpose. And that is why the stillness of 4 a.m. is not just peaceful, it's transformative. Message 2. Reclaiming control. Building discipline before the world wakes up. If the first message is about clarity, the second message is about power, the power of discipline. Waking up at 4 a.m. is not easy. That's why most people don't do it. But here's the truth that successful people understand. Hard things build strong people. The simple act of waking up early trains you to take control of your life instead of letting your life take control of you. Discipline starts when you don't want something. Anyone can be disciplined when they feel motivated, but true discipline begins when you don't want to do something. When your bed is warm, when you're tired, when the world is dark. Every time you wake up early despite discomfort, you send a powerful message to yourself. I am in charge, not my excuses, not my comfort. This micro-victory builds confidence. It builds self-trust. It builds mental strength. And the best part? It carries into everything else you do. If you can win the battle against yourself at 4 a.m., then difficult tasks feel easier. Your goals feel more achievable. Your discipline becomes automatic. You start living with a higher level of personal power. You become the one who sets the tempo. Most people let the world dictate their day. They rush, they react, they get pulled by everything around them. But waking up early flips the script. Instead of being controlled by time, you become the one who controls it. You decide what to focus on, how fast to move, where to direct your energy, what you want to build. You start the day as a leader, not a follower. Morning discipline creates daily momentum. One of the most underrated psychological principles is this: your first win of the day determines your next win.
When you wake up early, you immediately achieve something challenging. That small victory sets a tone, a momentum that makes the next habits easier. You begin to think, I've already done something most people won't, I might as well keep going. And so you eat healthier, train harder, focus deeper, plan smarter, take your goals more seriously. This momentum compounds over time, and compounded discipline becomes identity. You no longer wake up early because you want to. You wake up early because that's who you are. You strengthen your mental resistance. There is a hidden benefit to waking up early. It trains you to resist comfort. Modern life is designed to make you comfortable. Soft beds, soft habits, soft routines. But comfort creates stagnation, and stagnation slowly kills your potential. Waking up early forces you to step into discomfort voluntarily. It teaches your brain to operate even when things are hard. This mental resistance spills into your work, your fitness, your goals, your relationships. When life challenges you, you're not shaken, you're trained. You've spent months, maybe years, proving that you can overcome yourself every morning, and that is one of the strongest forms of self-mastery. Early discipline protects your long-term goals. Most people lose their future because they sacrifice what they want most for what they want now. But waking up early forces you to think long-term. No one wakes up at 4 a.m. for pleasure. They do it for purpose. It connects you directly to your future self, the version of you who is stronger, more disciplined, more focused, more successful. When you wake up early, you're not just waking up for today. You're waking up for who you want to become. And that commitment changes everything.
Introduction to Part 2. In Part 1, we explored the powerful silence of 4 a.m. and the deep sense of discipline that comes from waking before the world does. You learned how intentional mornings sharpen your mind and strengthen your self-control. Now, in Part 2, we go deeper into two essential forces that shape long-term success. Deep productivity, the kind of work that moves your life forward. Emotional strength, the mental resilience that carries you through setbacks, pressure, and change. These next two messages reveal why so many high performers swear by the early morning hours, not just to think clearly, but to create, build, and transform. Let's begin. Message 3. Unlocking deep productivity. Why 4 a.m. is the hour of peak creation. If you've ever tried to work during the day, you know how difficult it is to enter deep focus. Your attention gets pulled in 100 directions. Notifications break your concentration. Unexpected tasks and conversations interrupt your rhythm. Mental noise fills your head. But at 4 a.m., the world hasn't started yet. This untouched window becomes the most productive time available, not because it's early, but because it's undisturbed. Deep work requires an undisturbed mind. Deep work is the ability to focus on something meaningful for long, uninterrupted stretches. It is the skill responsible for exceptional results, the kind of progress that normal work hours rarely produce. Most people never experience deep work because their day is fragmented. They switch between apps, tasks, responsibilities, and distractions, losing focus every few minutes. Research shows that after a distraction, it can take more than 20 minutes to fully refocus. But at 4 a.m., no one is emailing you. No one is talking to you. No one is demanding anything from you. There are no meetings, messages, or interruptions. You're free. This freedom creates the perfect mental environment for deep productivity, a flow state where you produce world-class work. Your brain is naturally optimized in the early hours for several reasons. Cortisol levels, the hormone that controls alertness, naturally peak in the morning. Your brain has the highest cognitive freshness after rest. Mental fatigue hasn't accumulated yet. You have higher control over your attention before decision overload kicks in. This is why your problem-solving skills, creativity, and logical reasoning often feel stronger early in the day. At 4 a.m., your brain is a clean engine. No noise, no clutter, no stress. Just pure clarity and concentration. 4 a.m. gives you a head start on the day. Imagine this. While the world sleeps, you're already planning your next steps, building your skills, writing, creating, learning, exercising, journaling, conceptualizing, working on your long-term goals. By the time others wake up, you've already achieved more than they will achieve before lunch. This head start compounds over weeks, months, and years. You become the person who consistently moves forward, while others spend their mornings catching up. Creativity flourishes in the early morning. Many of the world's best creators, writers, designers, filmmakers, entrepreneurs, say their most inspired work happens when the world is quiet. This is not a coincidence. Creativity isn't just about skill, it's about mental spaciousness. When your brain isn't overloaded by input, it can access deeper layers of imagination, memory, and insight. The early morning is when complex ideas connect, intuitive thoughts surface. Your mind wanders productively. Original thinking becomes easier. You gain access to a part of your creativity that daytime stress often suppresses. You build the habit of progress, not just activity. Most people confuse activity with progress. They stay busy, but not effective. They complete tasks, but don't move forward. They react to life instead of intentionally building it. Waking up at 4 a.m. shifts you from busyness to progress. Why? Because when your day begins with deep work, personal development, purposeful action, you anchor your life to growth, not distraction. You start your day by building your future, not just maintaining your present. That mindset shift alone can change the entire trajectory of your life. The early hours belong only to you. Perhaps the greatest productivity advantage of 4 a.m. is that the time belongs fully to you. No one else controls it. No one else decides how you spend it. You choose. This level of autonomy is rare in modern life. We are constantly responding to external demands. But the early morning gives you a private sanctuary, a mental workspace where you can shape your life without interference. Successful people protect this window fiercely because they know it is the engine that powers their progress. Message 4. Building emotional strength, the mental resilience gained from early rising. Waking up at 4 a.m. is not just a physical habit or a productivity trick. It is an emotional training ground, a daily opportunity to build resilience, stability, and inner strength. Success is not only about intelligence or talent, it's about the ability to stay strong when life gets hard. The emotional capacity to endure pressure, stay calm under stress, handle uncertainty, push through discomfort, bounce back from failure. The early morning helps you develop these qualities in powerful ways. Overcoming resistance builds mental toughness. Every morning at 4 a.m., you face a battle with yourself. Your mind wants comfort. Your body wants to stay warm. Your emotions want the easy path. But every time you override these impulses, you train your brain to act based on purpose instead of feeling. This repeated pattern builds emotional discipline, stronger willpower, higher tolerance for discomfort, the ability to act even when unmotivated. The world rewards people who can move despite resistance, not those who wait for motivation to appear. You become less reactive and more stable.
People who lack emotional strength are reactive. They get overwhelmed easily. They lose focus under pressure. They get discouraged by small setbacks. Waking up early stabilizes your mind and emotions. When you begin your day with reflection, planning, or intentional calmness, you create a protective emotional buffer. You become less affected by noise, drama, stress, unexpected problems, negative energy. Your mornings give you the stability that others spend the whole day trying to find. You strengthen your relationship with yourself. Emotional strength comes from self-trust, the belief that you can rely on yourself. But most people break promises to themselves. I'll exercise tomorrow. I'll wake up early next week. I'll start the project when I have time. Every broken promise weakens your identity and your confidence. But waking up at 4 a.m. forces you to keep a commitment to yourself every single day. This builds a deeper form of emotional security, a sense that you can depend on your own decisions. Once you trust yourself, you walk through life with confidence. Morning solitude heals your emotional overload. Modern life creates emotional clutter. Always connected, always stimulated, always comparing, always consuming. Your emotions become tangled in stress, expectations, and responsibilities. But the solitude of 4 a.m. acts like an emotional cleanse. You breathe, you reflect, you process things that you push down during the day. You reconnect with your inner voice. This daily reset improves emotional clarity, self-awareness, mental calmness, decision-making, emotional balance. It is nearly impossible to grow emotionally unless you have moments of silence to listen to yourself. You become more resilient to life's challenges. When waking up early becomes a habit, resilience becomes your nature. You become the kind of person who faces challenges head-on, adapts instead of complains, stays grounded in chaos, remains focused even under pressure. This resilience is one of the greatest advantages you can have in life. It allows you to endure storms without losing yourself. The discipline and emotional strength gained from early rising give you the mental armor needed to pursue big goals without being crushed by obstacles. Early mornings prepare you for a bigger life. A bigger life requires a bigger you, stronger mind, healthier emotions, sharper focus, deeper consistency, greater discipline. Waking up at 4 a.m. trains all these qualities simultaneously. You grow not only in productivity, but in maturity. Not only in discipline, but in emotional depth. Not only in habit, but in identity. This combination is rare, and it is the foundation of every powerful, grounded, self-driven human being.
Introduction to Part 3. In Part 1, you discovered the power of stillness and discipline. In Part 2, you learned how deep productivity and emotional strength grow from the early morning hours. Now, Part 3 takes you into two of the most transformative messages of all: identity, who you believe you are, and time, how you use the hours you have in a lifetime. These are not just habits or routines. These are foundations of how your life unfolds. When you begin waking at 4 a.m. consistently, something profound happens. You shift your identity, you expand your time, you operate on a different frequency than most people around you. Let's explore how. Message 5. Rewriting your identity. Becoming the person who chooses growth over comfort. Most people try to change their life by changing their actions. But successful people change their life by changing their identity. Identity is the story you tell yourself about who you are. I'm not a morning person. I've never been disciplined. I can't focus. I'm too busy. I'll start later. These stories become walls. They lock you into a version of yourself that no longer serves your future. Waking up at 4 a.m. challenges these inner narratives. Every morning, you prove to yourself that you can do something difficult, something most people won't even attempt. Slowly, your identity evolves. You shift from I can't to I can. I'm inconsistent to I'm disciplined. I avoid challenges to I face them head on. This transformation is subtle at first, but eventually becomes undeniable. Identity grows through action, not intention. People often wait for confidence before they act. But confidence doesn't arrive before action. It arrives because of action. Every time you wake up early, your brain learns a new identity. I am someone who keeps promises. I am someone who controls my habits. I am someone who chooses growth. These beliefs matter because identity determines behavior. When you believe in a stronger version of yourself, you naturally act like that person. You no longer force discipline, you embody it. The early morning becomes a mirror for your true potential. During the day, the noise of life distracts you from who you really are. The expectations of others shape your actions. Responsibilities consume your energy. Social pressure influences your decisions. But in the early morning, none of that exists. It's just you, alone with your thoughts, alone with your intentions, alone with your future. This is where you see what you want, who you want to become, what habits you need, what weaknesses you must confront. The early morning becomes a mirror that reflects your purest self, not the version shaped by daily noise, but the version shaped by your deepest desires. You become the architect of your life, not the passenger.
But waking up at 4 a.m. forces you to take ownership of your life. You no longer live on autopilot. You become intentional, aware, and self-directed. You start asking, what am I building? Who am I becoming? What kind of life do I want? What is my next level? Success becomes something you design, not something you hope for. Choosing growth over comfort becomes your default setting. Comfort is the seductive enemy of transformation. It feels good in the moment, but steals your potential. It convinces you to stay the same. But early rising requires you to reject comfort again and again. Every morning you choose future over ease, discipline over pleasure, growth over laziness. This daily repetition rewires your identity. Soon you begin choosing growth in other areas too. You take on challenges you once avoided. You speak up where you once stayed silent. You work harder, not because you must, but because it feels aligned. You stop quitting when things get difficult. You evolve into someone driven, focused, and unstoppable. Identity is destiny. Your habits shape your days. Your days shape your years. Your years shape your life. But your identity, the story of who you believe you are, shapes everything. Waking up at 4 a.m. lets you write a new story, a story of power, a story of self-respect, a story of discipline, a story of becoming more than you once thought possible. This is why early rising is not a habit, it is a transformation of self. Message 6. Expanding your time. How waking up at 4 a.m. gives you an extra life within your life. Most people say they don't succeed because they don't have enough time. But the truth is this: you don't need more time. You need more control over your time. And nothing gives you more control than waking up at 4 a.m. It doesn't give you a few extra hours. It gives you a second life inside your life, a secret, private space where time expands, decisions sharpen, and progress accelerates. You multiply your available hours. Think about how the average person lives. Wake up rushed, go to work tired, spend the day distracted, come home exhausted, use evenings to escape. Repeat. They spend their most productive hours working on other people's priorities, not their own. But when you rise at 4 a.m., you gain 2 to 3 hours of undisturbed focus. You start the day with clarity instead of pressure. You complete personal goals before obligations begin. It's like adding an extra chapter to each day, a chapter dedicated only to what matters most to you. Over a year, that equals 700 plus extra hours, the equivalent of 17 full work weeks, nearly 3 extra months of personal development. If used intentionally, this could elevate your entire life. You learn to use time intentionally, not emotionally. Most people use time based on emotion. I don't feel like working right now. I'm not in the mood. I'll do it later. But when you wake up early, you stop relying on emotion and start relying on structure.
You control the clock. The clock doesn't control you. This shift leads to better planning, better prioritization, better long-term decision-making. You no longer live reacting to each day. You live directing each day. You avoid the evening trap. The evening is the most dangerous time for your goals. Why? Because your energy is low, your decision-making is weak, your motivation is exhausted, temptations are highest, distractions are everywhere. People promise themselves they'll work on their dreams at night, but by the time they get home, they're too tired, too overwhelmed, or too drained. Your dream gets whatever energy you have left, which is usually nothing. But when you wake up early, your dream gets you first, not last. Your goals get your best energy, not leftovers. Your progress becomes inevitable, not optional. You gain time others don't realize exists. One of the greatest advantages in life is doing things others are not willing to do. At 4 a.m., there is no competition, no noise, no pressure, no interruptions. You access hours most people ignore, hours that become a secret weapon for growth. It's like living in a parallel universe where time flows differently. This is why many successful people say, "I don't have more talent than others, I simply use my mornings." Time feels slower, not faster. During the day, life moves fast, hours disappear. You jump from task to task without thinking. But early mornings stretch time. You feel like you have space to breathe, space to think, space to be human again. You experience calm, order, clarity, presence. These are qualities that make you more effective in everything else you do. You create a life with margin, not chaos. People who feel overwhelmed are not overwhelmed because they have too much to do. They're overwhelmed because they have no margin, no buffer, no breathing room, no space to reset. Waking up early adds margin to your life. It gives you mental and emotional space that reduces chaos and increases control. You become calmer, more organized, more intentional, less stressed, more focused. Your days feel smoother because you prepared before the world woke up. You live 2 lives instead of 1. Here is the honest truth. Most people live only 1 life, the life demanded of them. But early risers live 2. The life they choose, early morning progress, the life they manage, daytime responsibilities. This combination creates exponential growth. You pursue your dreams before the world needs you.
You build your future before you start working on your present. You live strategically, not reactively. That is how waking up at 4 a.m. gives you an extra life inside your life, a life that shapes your destiny.
Message 7. Becoming the kind of person who can achieve anything. The identity shift. Waking up early changes who you are, not just what you do. Most people think waking up at 4 a.m. is only a time management trick. They imagine it's about squeezing in more tasks or checking more boxes before the rest of the world wakes up. But the truth is far more powerful. The moment you choose to rise at 4 a.m. consistently, you're not simply changing your routine, you're reshaping your identity. You're becoming a different kind of human being. And that identity shift might be the single greatest transformation you ever experience. The identity you carry shapes the limits of your life. If you identify as someone who is always tired, you'll act tired. If you see yourself as someone who is inconsistent, you'll behave inconsistently. But the moment you become someone who consistently gets up at 4 a.m., you are telling your mind a new story. I am disciplined. I am intentional. I am in control. I do what most people cannot. That internal narrative alone can change your entire destiny. The power of identity-based habits. There's a concept in behavioral science called identity-based habits. It means your habits are not just actions you take, they are votes you cast for the kind of person you believe yourself to be. And waking up early casts a very strong vote. It's a vote that declares, I own my life. I don't wait for circumstances to dictate my behavior. I don't let comfort decide my future. When you consistently choose discomfort at 4 a.m., you create an identity anchored in strength. You stop seeing yourself as ordinary. You stop believing you're weak or inconsistent. You realize something extraordinary. Discipline is not something you do, it's something you become. And once you become that kind of person, everything changes. Your goals become less intimidating. Your dreams feel closer. Your sense of self expands because you finally trust yourself. Confidence comes from keeping promises to yourself. Most people don't struggle with ambition, they struggle with self-trust. They want to lose weight, but they don't believe they will. They want to build a business, but they fear they'll quit halfway. They want to transform their lives, but they doubt their ability to stay consistent. But imagine this. Every morning at 4 a.m., you wake up and keep a promise to yourself. Day after day, week after week, month after month. What does that do to your confidence? It skyrockets. You learn that you can rely on yourself. You learn that you don't need to wait for motivation because you have discipline. You learn that you can overcome resistance. And that realization builds an unshakable inner power. When you change your identity, your actions become automatic. This is why successful people prioritize identity over motivation. If you tell yourself, I'm trying to wake up at 4 a.m., you won't last long. But if you say, I'm the kind of person who wakes up at 4 a.m., your brain will work to maintain that identity, because identity drives behavior.
You don't need to negotiate with yourself every morning. You don't need to question your decision. You don't need to rely on willpower. You simply do it because that's who you are. This shift is incredibly liberating. Instead of wrestling with your doubts and excuses, you gain clarity, direction, and emotional strength. You're no longer battling yourself. You're simply following the identity you've built. Early mornings build mental resilience. There's also something psychological that happens at 4 a.m. Waking up when your body wants to stay comfortable builds resilience. It trains your mind to override impulses. It teaches you that pain is temporary, and purpose is permanent. That skill, the ability to act despite discomfort, is the foundation of every meaningful achievement. People who master it build businesses. They write books. They get in shape. They rise in their careers. They reshape their futures. Waking up early becomes a daily practice of mental toughness, and that toughness spreads into every area of life. You stop living life reactively. One of the biggest identity shifts that happens at 4 a.m. is that you stop living reactively. Most people spend their entire day responding to messages, responding to work, responding to problems, responding to other people's priorities. But when you rise in the quiet darkness before the world wakes up, you become proactive. You start your day with intention. You define your goals, your priorities, and your purpose before the world has a chance to distract you. That's not just a routine. That's a revolution. You are no longer being pulled by life. You're leading it. You become a creator, not a consumer. Most people consume their mornings, scrolling, checking notifications, reacting, following. But at 4 a.m., consumption feels unnatural. The silence pushes you toward creation. You feel drawn to write, plan, learn, train, build, or reflect. You do things that move life forward. You create instead of consume. Creators shape the world. Consumers simply watch it happen. Waking up early turns you into someone who contributes, someone who builds, someone who leaves a mark. The 4 a.m. identity is contagious. The transformation doesn't stay inside you. People around you feel it. Your clarity becomes noticeable. Your energy becomes inspiring. Your discipline becomes magnetic. And suddenly you're the person others look to for guidance. When your identity expands, your influence does too. This is why successful people wake up early. It's not that 4 a.m. has magical properties. It's that waking up early changes the person you are. And when you upgrade your identity, you upgrade your destiny. You become someone who can do difficult things, someone who can achieve long-term goals, someone who can stay consistent without relying on motivation, someone who isn't controlled by emotions or circumstances, someone who rises, not just in the morning, but in life. That's the power of becoming the kind of person who wakes up at 4 a.m.
Message 8. The long-term transformation. Your future will thank you for every 4 a.m. morning. The compounding effect. How small daily wins create massive life changes. If Part 1 was about understanding the importance of early mornings, Part 2 about building discipline, Part 3 about claiming ownership of your life, Part 4, Message 7, about identity transformation, then this final message is about what truly matters, the long-term payoff. Because waking up at 4 a.m. isn't only about today, it's about who you become over years of intentional living. And the compounding effect of small, consistent actions done at 4 a.m. is mind-blowing. Let's explore what that long-term transformation actually looks like. The compounding power of micro-wins. Every early morning gives you micro-wins. Reading 10 pages, meditating 10 minutes, exercising 20 minutes, planning your day, journaling, learning or building a skill. These actions may feel small in the moment, but they accumulate. After 1 month, they change your habits. After 6 months, they change your mindset. After 1 year, they change your results. After 5 years, they change your life. After 10 years, they change your legacy. People underestimate how powerful tiny daily actions become when compounded over time. 10 pages a day equals 3,650 pages a year, about 15 books. 20 minutes of exercise a day equals 10 extra hours of training each month. Studying 30 minutes a day, mastering skills in a year that most never begin. You may not notice the impact in a week, but your future self will be deeply grateful. You become more skilled than you thought possible. Let's say you dedicate your 4 a.m. hours to developing skills. In 1 year, you could learn a new language, write a book, build an online business, master a creative skill, reinvent your career. Because early hours give you something priceless, mental bandwidth. Your willpower is untouched. Your focus is stronger. Your brain is fresh. You learn faster. You create better. You think deeper. Most people never get to experience this version of themselves because their minds are always flooded with noise, notifications, and obligations. But in the pre-dawn hours, you finally meet the best version of yourself, the version capable of greatness. Your emotional life improves dramatically. Waking up at 4 a.m. consistently also heals your emotional life. You feel more grounded, less overwhelmed, more mindful. You gain emotional stability because you're not rushing into your day. You're not running behind. You're not starting with chaos. Your mornings set the emotional tone for your life. Calm mornings, calm mind. Purposeful mornings, purposeful life. Strong mornings, strong character. You stop feeling lost. You stop feeling reactive. You stop feeling like life is happening to you. You feel centered, self-directed, intentional. That emotional transformation spills into your relationships, your work, your health, and your sense of fulfillment.
You build a life others respect. People around you will notice the changes long before you do. They'll see your discipline. They'll feel your growth. They'll recognize your consistency. And eventually, they'll respect you. Not just for what you do, but for who you've become. Waking up at 4 a.m. turns you into someone others can depend on. Someone who leads by example. Someone who lives by principles. Someone who doesn't talk about growth, they embody it. Respect is earned through behavior, and nothing communicates strength like daily discipline. Purpose becomes clearer. There is something magical about the silence of 4 a.m. Your mind opens, your thoughts deepen, your intuition strengthens. People often say, "I don't know my purpose." But the truth is, they never sit still long enough to hear it. In the quiet darkness, away from noise and chaos, your mind becomes aligned with your inner desires. You begin to reflect. What do I really want? Who do I want to become? Where do I want my life to go? Purpose emerges when the noise stops. This is why so many creators, leaders, thinkers, and innovators cherish early mornings. They allow them to tap into their true vision. You break the cycle of ordinary living. Most people live the same year 90 times and call it a life. They don't grow. They don't evolve. They don't push themselves. They stay stuck in comfortable routines. But when you choose to rise early every day, you break that cycle. You introduce an element of challenge, a moment of growth, a point of disruption. You force your life upward because you force yourself upward. Each early morning is a rejection of mediocrity. Each early morning is a vote for excellence. Each early morning is a step toward your highest potential. Your future self will be unrecognizable. Imagine yourself 10 years from now. After thousands of intentional mornings, you have a stronger body, a sharper mind, a calmer heart, a deeper purpose, more discipline, more confidence, more achievements, more clarity,
more self-respect, more control, more everything. Your future self will not just thank you, they will admire you. Because everything extraordinary in life begins with small daily decisions, and the decision to wake up early is one of the most powerful decisions you can ever make. This is not about 4 a.m. It's about becoming unstoppable. The time itself doesn't matter. What matters is who you become through this habit. Someone disciplined, someone intentional, someone visionary, someone consistent, someone strong, someone focused, someone capable of shaping their destiny. Those qualities create a life worth living. Final thought. Waking up at 4 a.m. is a statement, a commitment to your future, your purpose, and your potential. It's a daily declaration. I refuse to be ordinary. I refuse to live reactively. I refuse to let comfort control me. I choose strength. I choose growth. I choose to rise every day without fail. And years from now, when you look back, you'll realize something. Every great transformation began in the quiet darkness of those early mornings.
If this message hit you, then don't just watch and leave. Like this video, share it to someone who needs this wake-up, and subscribe to this channel. Study yourself 1 hour a day. We are building a different breed here, a new generation of doers, people who don't wait for permission, people who build themselves daily, people who compound quietly and become untouchable over time. Hit subscribe, join the movement. 1 hour a day, every day. And in 1 year, your future self will not recognize you anymore. Let's grow. Let's execute. Let's dominate our own potential. Subscribe now and start becoming the person nobody can compete with.